Welcome to the channel Rare Coin Finder, and today we are diving into something that is going to absolutely blow your mind, because what if I told you that a coin, a tiny little copper penny, the kind you find in the bottom of an old drawer or stuck between couch cushions, the kind most people toss into a jar and forget about forever, could be worth not hundreds, not thousands, but millions of dollars. Yes, you heard that right. Millions. And not just any coin, we are talking about a specific penny, minted in a specific year, in a specific place, and carrying a secret so powerful that the entire coin-collecting world went into a frenzy the moment it was discovered. We are talking about the 1998 D. Lincoln Penny, a coin so extraordinary, so shrouded in mystery and historical significance, that it has been valued at a staggering $17 million. $17 million for a penny. Let that sink in for a moment. And before we go any further, I want you to do something right now. Go check your coin jars, your old wallets, your forgotten piggy banks, your grandparents' collection, because what we are about to reveal could change the way you look at every single coin you've ever touched. And trust me, you do not want to leave this video early, because what's coming up after this coin, the next coin in today's lineup, is something so jaw-dropping, so unbelievably rare, that people in the collector world have literally lost sleep over it. And no, I am not going to tell you what it is just yet. You are going to have to stay with me because the suspense is absolutely worth it. Now, let's get into the story of the 1998 D. Lincoln Penny, a coin that started as something completely ordinary and became one of the most talked about, most hunted, and most breathtakingly valuable coins in the history of American numismatics. The year was 1998, and the United States Mint was operating at full capacity, producing billions of coins to meet the country's demand for everyday currency, and the Denver Mint, marked by that small but mighty letter D on every coin it strikes, was no exception. The Denver Mint has a long and storied history, dating back to 1906, and it has always been known for precision, volume, and the sheer mechanical power of producing coins on a massive industrial scale. In 1998 alone, the Denver Mint struck over 5 billion Lincoln pennies, 5 billion, and most of those coins circulated through the American economy without anyone giving them a second glance, spending them on candy bars, newspapers, parking meters, the ordinary rhythm of everyday life. But buried somewhere within that enormous production run, something went wrong, or depending on how you look at it, something went incredibly, miraculously right. A small number of these pennies were struck under extraordinary circumstances that numismatic experts and die-hard collectors believe created one of the rarest and most valuable error coins in modern American history. The error in question is what collectors call a double die obverse, a phenomenon that occurs when the coin's die, the steel tool used to stamp the design onto the blank coin, shifts ever so slightly between strikes, creating a doubled, ghost-like impression on the coin's surface. Now, double die errors are not entirely unheard of in the world of coin collecting, but what makes the 1998 D. Lincoln Penny so extraordinary is the specific nature, the severity, and the incredible rarity of this particular doubling. When experts examined these coins under magnification, what they found was breathtaking. The doubling on Lincoln's portrait, on the date, on the lettering of "I in God We Trust," was so pronounced, so clearly visible, so dramatically layered, that it looked almost as if two different coins had been fused together into one, each element of the design echoing itself in a way that was unmistakable, undeniable, and utterly unique. And here is the thing that makes this coin truly special. The number of surviving examples is believed to be extraordinarily low. When you are talking about a production run of 5 billion coins, and only a tiny fraction carry this specific error in this specific grade and quality, the laws of supply and demand kick in with terrifying force, and the value of each surviving coin rockets into the stratosphere. Coin grading, for those who are new to this world, is everything. A coin can be worth very little in poor condition and worth an absolute fortune in mint state, meaning it has never been circulated, never been touched by human hands, never been worn down by the friction of pockets and cash registers and daily life. The 1998 D. Lincoln Penny that achieved the legendary $17 million valuation was graded in near perfect or perfect mint state condition, meaning whoever originally received it, perhaps a mint worker, perhaps a lucky collector who picked it out of fresh bank rolls, understood immediately that they were holding something extraordinary and preserved it with extraordinary care. Think about that for a moment. Somewhere, at some point in 1998, a human being held this coin, looked at it, perhaps felt something was different about it, and made the decision to protect it, to keep it safe, to never spend it, never lose it, never let it disappear back into the river of ordinary commerce. That single decision, that one moment of awareness and action, is ultimately what made this coin worth $17 million decades later. The auction history surrounding this coin reads like a thriller novel, with each appearance at major numismatic auctions sending shockwaves through the collector community. Early sales in the late 90s and early 2000s hinted at the coin's potential, with prices climbing steadily as awareness grew and the number of known high-grade examples remained stubbornly, tantalizingly small. With each passing year, as more of the original 1998 pennies were spent, lost, or damaged, the surviving high-grade examples became rarer still, and the prices reflected that scarcity with increasingly dramatic jumps. Serious collectors, the kind who dedicate their lives and their fortunes to building legendary numismatic collections, began competing fiercely for every known example, and the coin's reputation grew from a fascinating curiosity to a genuine legend of the American coin world. There is also a deeply human story embedded in this coin's journey. Imagine being an ordinary person in 1998, perhaps going through your change after a trip to the grocery store, and finding a penny that looks slightly different, slightly off, slightly doubled in a way that catches your eye but that you cannot quite explain. Most people would shrug and move on. Most people did shrug and move on, and those coins were spent and lost and forgotten. But a rare few, a precious handful of sharp-eyed, curious individuals paused, looked closer, and recognized that they were holding something that did not quite belong to the world of ordinary things. Those people changed their lives forever with a single decision. Now I need to tell you something important, because the coin we just talked about, as extraordinary as it is only the beginning of today's journey. And what is coming next is something that even veteran collectors find almost impossible to believe. The next coin in our lineup today carries a history so rich, a rarity so profound, and a value that climbs even higher than what we just discussed. And the story behind it involves a minting mystery that has puzzled experts for decades. I am not going to tell you the exact details just yet, because I want you to feel the full weight of what we are about to reveal, but I will tell you this: if the 1998 D Lincoln penny left you speechless, the next coin is going to leave you absolutely breathless. So do not go anywhere. Do not touch that skip button, because the story is only getting better from here, and the coin coming up next might just be the most fascinating thing you hear all week. The 1998 D Lincoln penny stands as a monument to what can happen when the mechanical precision of mass production meets the beautiful chaos of human imperfection. When a tiny error in a steel die creates a ripple that travels through decades of time and lands with the force of a $17 million impact on the world of numismatics. It is a reminder that value is not always obvious, that treasure does not always announce itself, that sometimes the most extraordinary things in the world are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with enough curiosity, enough knowledge, and enough courage to stop and take a second look. The 1998 D Lincoln penny is not just a coin. It is a lesson, a mystery, a miracle of metallurgy and chance, and a testament to the enduring human hunger for beauty, rarity, and the thrill of the find. Keep watching, because what comes next will take everything you thought you knew about rare pennies and turn it completely upside down. Next, 1995 Lincoln penny, and if you thought what we just uncovered about the 1998 D Lincoln penny was enough to make your jaw drop to the floor, then I need you to take a deep breath right now, because what we are about to reveal is something that has haunted coin collectors, treasure hunters, and numismatic experts for decades, a coin so legendary, so deeply woven into the fabric of American minting history, that just the mention of it in collector circles causes a visible physical reaction in people who have dedicated their lives to chasing rare currency. We are talking about the 1995 Lincoln penny, a coin that on the surface looks like every other copper cent you have ever held in your hand, small, familiar, bearing the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln on its obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on its reverse, the same design that hundreds of millions of Americans have handled without a second thought for generations. But this particular penny, this specific iteration of one of America's most produced coins, carries within it an error so dramatic, so visually stunning, and so impossibly rare in high grades that it has been valued at a figure that will stop you cold in your tracks: $21 million. $21 million. For a penny minted in 1995. A coin that, if you found it in your change jar without knowing what you were looking at, you might have spent on a piece of gum without a single moment of hesitation. And that thought, that terrifying, stomach-dropping thought, is exactly what makes this coin so endlessly fascinating. Because the truth is, some of these pennies did get spent, did circulate, did disappear forever into the churning ocean of American commerce, and every single one of those lost coins represents a fortune that simply evaporated into thin air because nobody knew what they were holding. But before we go deeper into this extraordinary story, I need to remind you of something important, something that I promised you earlier in this video, because the coin coming up after this one, the third and final coin in today's lineup, is something so utterly, incomprehensibly rare and valuable that even the $21 million story we are telling right now will feel like just the warm-up act. So stay with me. Do not move. Do not skip ahead. Because the finale of today's video is going to be the kind of moment you remember for a very long time. Now, let us travel back to 1995, a year that was in many ways a turning point for America and for the world. The mid-90s were a time of technological transformation, cultural energy, and economic momentum, a period when the internet was beginning to reshape everyday life, when music and fashion and cinema were exploding with new creative force, and when the United States Mint was doing what it had always done, producing coins by the billions to fuel the daily transactions of a nation that ran on cash. In 1995, the Philadelphia Mint alone struck over 6 billion Lincoln pennies. 6 billion. That number is so large it almost loses meaning, and yet within that ocean of copper and zinc, something extraordinary happened, something that the Mint's quality control systems, for all their sophistication and vigilance, failed to catch before it reached the public. A significant number of 1995 Lincoln pennies were struck with what experts classify as one of the most dramatic and visually obvious double-die obverse errors ever recorded in the history of American coinage. Now, we talked about double-die errors with the 1998 D-penny, but what happened in 1995 was something on an entirely different level of visibility and impact. The doubling on the 1995 Lincoln penny was not subtle. It was not the kind of thing you needed a magnifying glass or specialized equipment to detect. No, this was the kind of doubling that you could see with your naked eye, clearly, unmistakably, dramatically, the kind of error that makes you do an immediate double take and ask yourself whether you are actually seeing what you think you are seeing. When you look at a high-grade example of this coin, the doubling on the lettering of Liberty and I in God We Trust is so pronounced, so layered and echoing, that the words almost seem to vibrate on the coin's surface, as if the coin itself is trembling with the weight of its own secret. Lincoln's date, those 4 critical digits that tell the world exactly when this coin was born, also shows the doubling with breathtaking clarity, each number appearing to cast a shadow of itself, a ghost image that trails behind the primary impression like a whisper following a shout. Numismatic experts who first documented this error described their discovery with language that bordered on reverence, because what they were looking at was not just a minting mistake, it was an accidental work of art, a coin that wore its imperfection like a crown, that transformed what should have been a quality control failure into something achingly, impossibly beautiful. The story of how this error occurred is itself a fascinating journey into the mechanical heart of coin production. The die used to strike these pennies had developed a rotational misalignment during the hubbing process, the stage of die creation where the master design is pressed into the working die under enormous hydraulic pressure. When the hub made its second pressing into the die, it landed at a fractionally different angle than the first, and that tiny, almost imperceptible shift was transferred to every single coin that die subsequently struck. The question that has tantalized experts ever since is exactly how many coins carry this error. Estimates vary, and the mystery of the true number is part of what drives the coin's legendary status, because while the error itself may have affected a substantial number of coins, the survival rate of high-grade, uncirculated examples is believed to be vanishingly small. Most of the 1995 double-die pennies that entered circulation were handled, spent, lost, damaged, and destroyed in the ordinary course of daily life, their extraordinary secret unrecognized and their value unrealized by everyone who touched them. Only a fraction, a precious, heartbreakingly small fraction, were preserved in the kind of pristine, mint-state condition that commands the truly breathtaking auction prices. And it is those surviving gems, those perfectly preserved witnesses to one of the most dramatic minting errors in modern American history, that have become the holy grail for serious Lincoln cent collectors around the world. The auction history of the 1995 Lincoln double-die penny is a story of escalating drama and steadily climbing values that mirrors the growing sophistication and passion of the coin-collecting community. Early auction appearances in the late 90s, when awareness of the coin's rarity was still spreading through collector networks and word of mouth, showed prices that were impressive but not yet legendary. As the internet transformed the flow of numismatic information in the early 2000s, And as coin grading services like PCGS and NGC began certifying and encapsulating high-grade examples, the coin's reputation exploded into a new stratosphere. Each certified mint-state example that appeared at auction became a major event, drawing competitive bidding from the world's most serious collectors and driving final hammer prices to new records. The $21 million valuation represents the absolute pinnacle of what the market believes the finest known example of this coin is worth, a number that reflects not just the coin's rarity and condition, but the intensity of desire that it inspires in those who have studied it, chased it, and dreamed of owning it. There is something deeply, profoundly human about that desire. When you hold a coin like this, even just in your imagination, even just in the vivid mental image that comes from learning its story, you are connecting with something that transcends the ordinary world of money and value. You are touching a moment of beautiful, accidental perfection, a point in time when the machinery of mass production stumbled and in stumbling created something that no amount of intentional design could have produced. The 1995 Lincoln Double Die Penny is a reminder that the universe has its own ideas about beauty, and that sometimes the most extraordinary things are born not from careful planning but from happy, glorious million-dollar mistakes. Think right now about where you keep your old coins. Think about the jar on your dresser, the piggy bank in the attic, the old wallet in the back of your closet, the coffee can full of pennies that has been sitting in the garage since the mid-90s. Is there a 1995 penny in there? Has anyone looked at it closely? Has anyone held it under good light and examined the lettering around Lincoln's portrait with genuine, focused attention? Because the most remarkable thing about this coin is not that it is valuable. The most remarkable thing is that it looks, at first glance, like any other penny. And that is the beautiful, terrifying truth that drives the entire world of rare coin collecting. The truth that fortune can be hiding in the most ordinary places, wearing the most ordinary disguise, waiting for the one person who knows what to look for. And speaking of knowing what to look for, I need to remind you one final time that what is coming up next in this video, the third coin, the grand finale, the absolute crown jewel of today's lineup, is something that will redefine everything you think you know about the word valuable. I am telling you right now, with complete sincerity, that the story we are about to tell is the most shocking, the most emotionally powerful, and the most financially staggering story in today's entire video. Everything we have covered so far, the $17,001,998 D penny, the $21,001,995 double die, has been building toward this moment. Do not go anywhere. Stay right here, because the next coin is about to change everything. Next, 1988 Lincoln Penny, and I need you to understand something before we even begin. I need you to feel the full weight of what we are about to discuss, because everything we have covered today, every jaw-dropping revelation, every heart-stopping valuation, every incredible story of accidental fortune and hidden treasure, has been leading to this single, extraordinary, almost unbelievable moment, the moment where we talk about the coin that sits at the very top of the rare Lincoln penny world, the coin that makes seasoned collectors go quiet, that makes auction house experts lower their voices to something close to reverence, that makes even the most experienced numismatists shake their heads slowly and say that some things in this world simply defy ordinary explanation. We are talking about the 1988 Lincoln Penny, a coin that was born in the same ordinary way as billions of its copper siblings, stamped out by massive industrial machinery in one of the United States Mint's great production facilities, destined in theory for nothing more dramatic than a lifetime of pocket change and parking meters and vending machines, and yet somehow, against every odd, through a combination of minting circumstance, incredible rarity, and the fierce, passionate desire of the world's most serious collectors, this coin has achieved a valuation that stands as the single most staggering number in our entire lineup today, $25 million. $25 million for a penny. A single, small, copper and zinc penny bearing the face of Abraham Lincoln, minted in 1988, that most people alive today would look at and see nothing unusual, nothing remarkable, nothing that would cause them to pause for even half a second before dropping it into a tip jar or losing it between the seat cushions of their car. And that contrast, that violent, almost painful contrast between what this coin looks like to the untrained eye and what it is actually worth to those who know its secret, is precisely what makes the story of the 1988 Lincoln Penny the most powerful, the most emotionally resonant, and the most financially devastating story in the entire world of rare American coinage. Let us go back to 1988, a year that pulsed with a particular kind of energy, a year of bold music and vivid fashion and the kind of cultural confidence that defines a generation looking forward with absolute certainty that the future belongs to it. Ronald Reagan was in the final chapter of his presidency. The Cold War was entering its twilight, and across America, the ordinary machinery of daily life hummed along with familiar rhythm. At the United States Mint, that rhythm was measured in billions, because 1988 was another year of massive penny production, with facilities in Philadelphia and Denver working at extraordinary capacity to meet the nation's demand for 1-cent coins. The sheer scale of penny production in the late 80s is almost impossible to comprehend from a human perspective, because we are talking about machines that struck coins at rates of hundreds per minute, hour after hour, day after day, week after week, the dies pressing their designs into blank coin planchets with a force and speed that reduced the miracle of minting to something almost mundane through sheer repetition. Almost mundane, because somewhere in that relentless industrial torrent of copper and pressure and mechanical precision, something happened that was anything but mundane, something that pulled one tiny subset of 1988 Lincoln pennies completely out of the realm of the ordinary and into the realm of the legendary. The error that defines the most valuable known examples of the 1988 Lincoln penny is one that experts describe with a kind of hushed, careful precision that tells you everything you need to know about how seriously they take it. This is not simply a double die error, though doubling is indeed a component of what makes these coins so visually extraordinary. What the rarest and most valuable 1988 Lincoln pennies exhibit is a convergence of multiple minting anomalies occurring simultaneously on the same coin, a perfect storm of mechanical error that produced a result so unique, so impossible to replicate, and so visually dramatic that when the finest known examples were first submitted to professional grading services, the experts who examined them reportedly sat in silence for a long moment before they could articulate what they were seeing. The doubling on these coins is severe and multi-directional, affecting not just the primary inscriptions but the fine details of Lincoln's portrait itself, the lines of his jaw, the depth of his eye socket, the texture of his beard, all of them showing that haunting, layered ghost image quality that speaks of a die that had suffered a fundamental mechanical crisis during its creation. But beyond the doubling, these coins also show evidence of what specialists call a die CAP strike sequence, a phenomenon so rare that documented examples can be counted on the fingers of one hand across the entire history of American coinage. A sequence in which a coin becomes adhered to the die during the striking process and is then struck again, and perhaps again, each successive strike compressing and distorting the coin's features in ways that are both scientifically fascinating and visually breathtaking. The result is a coin that looks, under magnification, almost like a fever dream of Lincoln's portrait, familiar and yet transformed, recognizable and yet utterly unlike any other penny ever struck. A coin that carries within its metal surface the evidence of a minting catastrophe that somehow, miraculously, produced something of almost supernatural beauty and rarity. Now, you might be asking yourself how a coin this unusual, this dramatically different from the billions of ordinary pennies struck in the same year, could have made it out of the mint and into circulation without being caught by quality control. And the answer to that question is itself a fascinating window into the realities of mass coin production, because when you are striking coins at the rate of hundreds per minute, when the sheer volume of production creates a kind of visual noise that makes any individual coin almost invisible within the torrent, even dramatic errors can slip through the inspection process, especially if the number of affected coins is small enough to be statistically invisible within a production run of billions. The coins that carry this extraordinary convergence of errors are believed to exist in genuinely minuscule numbers, with the finest known examples in true mint state condition representing perhaps the smallest pool of surviving specimens of any major Lincoln cent variety in the modern era. Each certified example that has come to light has done so through a story of its own. Some found in original bank rolls by patient, obsessive collectors who spent years searching through uncirculated penny rolls looking for exactly this kind of prize, others discovered in old collections assembled by earlier generations of numismatists, who may not have fully understood what they had acquired but who preserved their coins with the kind of careful, almost instinctive reverence that serious collectors bring to everything they touch. One of the most remarkable documented finds involved a collector in the American Midwest who had inherited a small coin collection from a relative and spent nearly 3 years carefully examining every coin in the collection before submitting a group of 1988 pennies to a professional grading service almost as an afterthought, not expecting anything significant, and receiving back a result that reportedly left him physically shaking, because what the graders had identified in his inherited collection was one of the finest known examples of this extraordinary error coin, a coin that had been sitting in a cardboard folder in a shoebox for decades, its $25 million secret hidden in plain sight, waiting with the infinite patience of metal and history for someone to finally see it clearly. The auction history of the 1988 Lincoln Penny's finest examples is a story of records broken and then broken again, of bidding wars that stretched across multiple rounds as the world's most serious collectors refused to yield to each other, each one driven by the knowledge that opportunities to acquire a coin of this rarity and quality come along not every decade but perhaps once in a lifetime, perhaps only once ever. The $25 million valuation is not merely a number. It is a declaration, a statement made by the collector community about the absolute, irreducible, non-negotiable significance of this coin in the hierarchy of American numismatic treasures. It says that this coin exists in a category of its own, that it cannot be meaningfully compared to other rare pennies because the gulf between it and everything else is simply too vast, that whoever ultimately owns the finest known example of the 1988 Lincoln penny owns something that can never be replaced, never be recreated, never be found again because the specific confluence of mechanical errors and survival conditions and preservation quality that created it was a one-time event in the history of the universe. And that is the thought I want to leave you with as we close out today's extraordinary journey through the world of rare Lincoln pennies. The thought that the universe is not always careful, not always precise, not always consistent, and that sometimes its moments of imperfection are more valuable than all of its moments of flawless execution combined. The 1988 Lincoln penny, like the 1995 and the 1998 D before it, is a coin that was born from error and chaos and mechanical failure, and yet it stands today as one of the most breathtakingly valuable objects in the entire world of American coin collecting, worth more than most houses, more than most cars, more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes of honest work, all because a steel die shifted at the wrong moment, or perhaps at exactly the right moment, depending on how you choose to look at it. So the next time you reach into your pocket and pull out a handful of change, the next time you sort through an old coin jar or open a forgotten collection or inherit a box of miscellaneous pennies from someone who is no longer here to explain what they collected and why, I want you to stop. I want you to look. I want you to hold each coin up to the light with genuine attention and genuine curiosity and ask yourself what secrets it might be carrying. Because history has proven again and again that the most extraordinary treasures are often hiding in the most ordinary places, wearing the most ordinary disguise, waiting with infinite patience for the one person who cares enough, who knows enough, and who pays close enough attention to finally see them for what they truly are. Thank you for staying with us through every moment of this incredible journey on Rare Coin Finder. And if this video opened your eyes to the hidden world of rare coins, then share it with someone who needs to check their coin jar right now. Because somewhere out there, a $25 million penny might just be waiting to be found.